You were created for something more. Some days you're chasing your dreams. Other days you wonder if you took a wrong turn. Welcome to the Faithfully Empowered Podcast. I'm Lisa Landry. Let's trade self-doubt for bold faith and step fully into the life God designed for us. New episodes every Thursday. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Let's live faithfully empowered. Hi friend, welcome back to the Faithfully Empowered Podcast. I'm Lisa Landry. Today we're going to talk about something that might feel upside down in our culture. It's the gift of unproductive time. Let me say that again, because it feels like it shouldn't be true. Unproductive time is a gift? We live in a world that tells us our value comes from what we produce, how much we accomplish, and how busy we are. The question, how are you, is so often answered with busy, like it's a badge of honor. And I get it, because slowing down is not one of my strengths. If you've ever taken StrengthsFinder, you'll know what I mean when I say activator and achiever are in my top 5. That means I love to take action, I love starting new things, and I get a little surge of satisfaction every time I cross something off a to-do list. But here's the thing, that drive can become a slippery slope. When I first started working for myself, my husband had me promise him that I'd stick to regular office hours. But it wasn't long before I started feeling restless. Turning on the TV just seemed like a waste of time. I started to say, maybe I should find a volunteer gig, or maybe I should take a sewing class. And Bill would just look at me and roll his eyes and be like, can you just please relax? And I laughed, but deep down I knew he was right. I had finally given myself permission to slow down, and I didn't know how to sit still. I kept trying to fill those empty spaces with more things, and that's when I realized I had a problem. Productivity had become an idol. I was defining my worth by what I accomplished, and perfection, that wasn't far behind. Because if I was going to take the time to paint or create something, I expected it to turn out a certain kind of way. I wonder if you can relate. Have you ever tried to sit still only to feel the inner whispers, you should be doing something, or this is wasted time, you need to be more productive? Friend, those are lies. Scripture tells us in Ecclesiastes 3:1 that there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. Not every moment is meant to be filled with output. Some seasons and some moments are for resting, reflecting, and simply being present with God. In Mark 6:31, Jesus tells his disciples, "Come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and get some rest." This was after they'd been serving, ministering, and doing all the good things. But even then, Jesus didn't say, keep going. He said, let's step away and rest. Unproductive time is where God often does his deepest work. It's where recovery happens in the soul. It's where the seeds get planted. Seeds that might not bloom right away, but will bear fruit in the right season. This is one of the reasons why in the Faithfully Empowered Studio membership, I've created exercises that are all about presence over perfection. These prompts aren't about making art and making something pretty. They're about creating space. Space to hear God's voice, space to breathe, and space to remember that you are more than what you produce. There was a time when I didn't think much of myself. So I chased visible things, titles, income, degrees. Somewhere along the way, I forgot how to just be. I was so busy performing that I missed the quiet, beautiful voice of God. Over time, I've come to see creative space, especially the unproductive kind, as a form of sacred worship. It's where your hands can move even when your heart feels stuck. It's where a brushstroke, a scribble, or a swirl of color becomes a conversation with God. It's not about making art at that point. It's about making room. Room for Him to speak. Room for your soul to breathe. Room to rediscover that joy isn't tied to results. Inside the membership, every month we walk through a devotional challenge and I release weekly creative prompts tied to the theme. These prompts are simple, gentle invitations. They're not about skill. They're not about perfection. They're about carving out 10 or 15, maybe even 30 minutes to just sit quietly, reflect, and let your creativity become a space where God can meet you. I hear from women all the time who say, "Lisa, I'm not creative." And I always tell them, you don't have to be. This isn't about being an artist. It's about being available. It's about giving yourself permission to slow down. So if you've been longing for rest, if your soul feels hurried, if you've forgotten what it's like to just be with God without a to-do list, I'd love to invite you in. Right now, I'm welcoming founding members into the Faithfully Empowered Studio, and I want you to know that the founding member pricing is only available until July 31st of 2025. As a founding member, you'll lock in the lowest price this membership will ever be for as long as you stay. And beyond the content, beyond the creative prompts, you'll be joining a community of women learning to slow down, breathe deeper, and listen for God's voice together. I don't want you to miss this window. If you've been feeling that tug in your heart, this is your chance to carve out space for your soul and discover how beautiful it is to meet God in what the world might call unproductive time. Even if you're not ready to join us yet, I want you to take this with you today. Your worth isn't measured by what you produce. Your value isn't in how much you accomplish. You are so deeply loved by a God who invites you to slow down, let go of the pressure, and simply rest in His presence. So let me ask you, where are you resisting unproductive time in your life? What might God be inviting you to notice if you stopped filling every minute with something to do? Could you sit still for 10 minutes today without an agenda and just breathe and listen? Thank you for joining me today. Let's keep learning to slow down together. And if you're curious about exploring this more deeply, visit faithfullyempowered.com to learn more about the Faithfully Empowered Studio. Remember, founding member pricing ends on July 31st. I would absolutely love to welcome you inside. Until next time, take a deep breath and remember that sometimes the most productive time is the holiest time. Thanks for spending time with me today. If this episode encouraged you, I'd love to hear from you. Share it with a friend, leave a comment, or let me know where you're tuning in from. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you'll never miss what's next. Looking for more encouragement and resources? Head over to faithfullyempowered.com to get access to the latest tools to grow in faith and confidence. Until next time, stay rooted, stay expectant, and live faithfully empowered.